Today's dangerous world poses many threats to America and its interests. In 2014, Russia invaded Ukraine. Since then, it has increased its threats towards NATO member countries, especially the Baltic states. China is building islands to host military bases, threatening regional neighbors while improving its military with advanced technologies. In North Korea, a tyrannical dictator threatens the destruction of South Korea and even the United States. Iran is pursuing a nuclear weapon, while improving its ballistic missile capabilities and expanding its support to terrorist activities throughout the Middle East. The Islamic State murders, burns, and destroys across the Middle East. In Afghanistan, the Taliban are once again on the march to seize control. And in Latin America, criminal cartels traffic drugs, weapons, and even humans throughout the continent and into the US. People debate whether today's threats are worse than the Soviet Union during the Cold War. But back then, America maintained a military not only strong enough to keep our country safe, but also large enough to protect our interests around the world. Our military is working hard today, too, to protect us from foreign threats. But concerns grow that it might not be fully prepared to defend us from threats to our homeland and our interests abroad. Though America invests a lot in its military, the limits placed on defense spending may be putting the country at risk. So how much is enough? How strong does the United States military need to be? Finding that answer can be a challenge, but history and research provide some clues. Since World War II, the U.S. has engaged in a major war about every 20 years. During this time, until the breakup of the Soviet Union, the U.S. was able to handle these wars while also maintaining a presence in Europe and Asia to reassure friends and as a deterrent to Soviet aggression. Essentially, the U.S. had the ability to fight two wars. A series of major studies reinforced this two-war approach to sizing the U.S. military. If we take a look at the current size of the military, its shortfalls become clear. The Army needs 50 combat brigades. 5 years ago, they had 45 combat brigades. Today, they have 32. Historical research calls for the Navy to have nearly 350 ships. The Navy's own assessment calls for 308. Right now, they have 272. The Air Force has the smallest and oldest fleet of aircraft in its history. The Marines are deploying more often and for longer, having shrunk from 27 battalions to only 24. So how did we get here? And where do we go next? After reaching a high point in 2011, federal budget reductions cut the defense budget severely and will last until 2023. Yet the military is still tasked with operations around the world. The budget cuts caused manpower reductions, delayed investments in new equipment, and decreased overall readiness. Experts at the Heritage Foundation determined that today's military is barely able to meet America's defense requirements and will soon be far below the two-war capability standard.
We simply cannot take the readiness of our force for granted. If we do not have the resources to train and equip the force, our soldiers, our young men and women are the ones who will pay the price, potentially with their lives.
Meanwhile, our competitors are investing in their militaries, modernizing them and making them more capable. And the future looks bleak. Defense budgets over the next decade will result in a military that is smaller, older, and less prepared. Unless we correct this growing risk soon, the U.S. military will be unable to meet the security needs of our country. And that should be a concern for every American. To learn more, visit the Heritage Foundation's 2016 Index of U.S. Military Strength.